Good afternoon. Today is April 3rd, 2020. First off, thank you for watching our live session again this week. My name is Raymond Ng, the Director of Education here at Monteca International Play School. Today's topic, we're actually going to be talking about a very big subject area in the Montessori curriculum, which is language. Target audience of this live session today would be parents of infants, toddlers, and even CASA age children. Okay, so given that our topic is language, here some of the things that we'll talk about today is first off, what is the difference in Montessori language? When do we teach language? What kind of materials we're going to be using? I have also prepared some materials to show you how we teach language here, and some of the benefits of doing language in Montessori, and then we're going to move on towards talking about next week's video as well. So first off, language. Montessori believes that the sensitive period for a child to learn language is between 0 to 6 years old. The first 3 years, the child will spend most of their time building an internal dictionary, building some vocabulary, and also recognizing speech patterns. They absorb all of this from the environment that they're in. It could be new words, it could be conversations, it could be stories, songs, poems, etc. And these are all they're absorbing into their mind as well. And of course, we use a lot of hands-on materials to help develop fine and gross motor skills, which leads to reading and writing. Okay, we use a lot of matching and sorting activities. We build visual discrimination, and they also learn how to classify and sort into groups, which is also essential to writing and reading. All in all, I think it's fair to say that all the language activities that we do here, they all have the opportunity for the child to hear and practice the sounds. Okay, I want to specifically get into talking to babies. Now, talking to babies is a very interesting topic because a lot of people have asked me, how do you communicate with someone that doesn't know how to communicate back to you? Well, the truth is, there's no clear form of communication that's obvious, of course. But instead, communication with infants is actually very, very important. Even when the infant is still in the mother's body, in their tummy, they're accustomed to be hearing sounds all the time, whether it's adult conversations or they're getting used to sounds, different tones, rhymes, rhythms of voices, stuff like that. And once they're born, they still need to be part of that conversation as well, because when they're born, they need to be spoken to and they need to hear other people speaking. This develops their language skills a lot. Okay, there are research that shows that if spoken language is a sort of a deprivation during the first 2 years, this can lead to very serious levels of language impairment later on to their lives. So that's why this communicating with infants is actually very important. So how do we talk to infants? So it's just this applies not to just infants, but toddlers and also older children as well. But mainly for infants, we always choose to speak slowly, clearly, and also quietly. Okay, and I'll tell you why. We speak slowly because it adds a level of stress and frustration when we speak really, really fast, which the infant might be able to internalize. We speak clearly because it helps him or her prepare for pronunciation purposes. And we speak quietly because then we allow the infant to focus purely on the voice. Okay. Other body language includes eye contact, of course. Always be looking into the infant's eyes when you're talking to them. That way they know they're being spoken to. Okay. And a mistake that that's very common as well is don't be afraid to use bigger words. Okay. In other words, don't use baby talk. Okay. They need to build the language vocabulary. It's very easy to baby talk to a baby. But just keep in mind, just speak naturally, like you're speaking to another adult, and this will actually be the most beneficial to them. Also, in terms of body language, always get down to their level of their physical position. Okay, this is because if you're standing over and you're talking, and it's very hard for the infant to focus on who's talking to them, what's happening around, and stuff like that. Okay, we do a lot of parallel talk. Parallel talk is basically we're describing what the infant's doing. Okay, so for example, it could be something like, I see you're on your tummy, you're trying to roll from your back to the other side, right? You're broadcasting what the infant is actually doing. This allows them to know exactly what they're trying to do and that you acknowledge it. Okay, the other talk is a self-talk. Okay, the self-talk is more to do with linking action to talk. Okay, a good example would be, I'm going to pick you up right now and place you in your bed. Okay, this helps them understand exactly what you're doing in terms of language as well. They might not be able to articulate the words out, but they do understand and they absorb whatever you're talking about. Okay, and another thing I want to talk about is sequencing and predictability. For example, always do first and thens, right? First, I'm going to pick you up and change. Then you're going to be read a story and have some milk. Okay, this provides them with a sense of order. They know what's happening and they can predict. Okay, this builds a sense of comfort, sense of order, and it's basically the groundwork for math in the future, language, reading, and so on. Okay. Another thing that can help is always describe the environment to your infant. Oh look, there's a big tree kind of thing. You're explaining to them what's around them so they can absorb the vocabulary as well. It strengthens the bond of trust and security between you and the infant. Okay. So in Montessori, we teach by phonetic sounds. Okay, phonetic sounds, we might hear it all the time. Maybe we don't know, we know what it is, we don't know what it is. But in Montessori, we don't teach we don't teach letters by their names. Okay, we present each letter by the sound it actually makes rather than their name. This helps them focus a little bit more because they're identifying the letters, each letter, by their sound instead of their name. Okay, now this logically makes sense because it's easier to remember one attribute over the name and the sound. So two things, right? So let me give you an example. The letter A, okay, we don't pronounce in Montessori. We don't teach it by calling it A. Instead, we use the sound it makes, which is right, like apple, right, instead of ape. Okay, so you hear the difference between and A. So we don't teach it by the name. Okay, another example would be the letter G. Okay, the name of the letter, of course, is G, like giraffe. Okay, but instead we teach it in a way where it's the actual sound that G makes, which is the g, which is goose, g. Okay, so in the Montessori environment, children learn to hear the sounds in the whole word. Okay, not just the initial sounds. We don't focus on just what it starts with, but instead we string them along so that all the different sounds. Okay, so for example, a three-letter word like bat, okay, B-A-T, we would teach it as ba-a-t. So we string it all together as ba-a-t, bat, right? So this reinforces the sense that all words are made out of a string of sounds. Okay. Well, this is only half of the phonetic words, okay? And then in the English language, of course, we have the other half where it doesn't really follow any particular rules, such as silent letters, and there are always exceptions and stuff like that, which is more for after when they've mastered all the sounds, okay? Another thing we have in our Montessori environment is, of course, we've been talking about it for a while, it's the prepared environment. We always have different practical and sensorial activities available to the children. This helps them build sort of an inner world in their head. Okay, this allows them to do practical things that they see on a regular basis, and they get to express whatever they feel from using their senses. Okay, of course, the materials play a big part, which will go on in a very short while. And then also there's a 3-period lesson. The 3-period lesson, which is basically a keystone of teaching language in Montessori. Actually, it probably can extend to different parts of subject areas as well. Quick recap: 3-period lesson. We have the first period, which is naming. So for example, this is a pen. Okay, so it's an introduction. Okay, and then the second period, which is recognizing. So it would be a whole, for example, a tray of objects in front of you, and say, show me the pen. Okay, show me. So you're asking the child to show you the pen. So they'll have to identify correctly where the pen is. Okay, that's more to do with recognizing. Okay, and once they've mastered that, then you can move on to the third period, which is the recalling. Okay, so this time you're just pointing at an object and saying, what is this? Okay, this way it works on it builds on their cognition skills. Okay, and they're also recalling what the name of that object is. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to some of the language materials. We've prepared a few language materials here for you today, and we do want to suggest that some of these materials can be easily crafted at home as well. Okay, and we will have a session and a video later on, sometime later, to demonstrate how to make these materials as well. So the first one that I have to show you is we call it the emotions booklet. Okay. So it looks like this. Okay, it's a very simple book. There's only a few pages in there. Okay, these are all laminated, just because for durability issues. Okay. What I would recommend is if you're trying to make this at home, do try to use the infant's pictures. Okay, the purpose of this book is to demonstrate to the child, for example, this picture here, you know, we can introduce the term surprise. Okay, introduce the term sad. Okay, this way it can help the child with getting in touch with their own emotions as well, to know what they're feeling at that time. Okay, of course it can extend to many different other emotions that are more complex, and that can be done later on as well. Okay, so that's the emotions booklet. Okay. The next one we have for you is called a color booklet. Okay, very simple, 3 pages again, 3 pages. Okay, I would suggest that you would use objects in here that are very familiar to the child. The way how you use this booklet is you would think that we're trying to teach the word button in here, but it's actually not. We're actually trying to teach the color red, right? So it would go with something like, you know, here's a book of red objects. Let's see what inside. So for example, I see a red button, red. Okay, so the key focus here is red, not the button. Okay. Whereas here, it'll be a red shirt, red. There's a red wagon, red, right? So we'll go with d, right? Red, okay? And then the next activity I have to show you is our matching activity, okay? This will go with the 3-period lesson very well, okay? I'm going to try and show you in the tray right here. Okay, I'll take them out so you can see them better. So for example, you would have 3 cards like these, okay? And I'd like to advertise to Monteca, for Monteca, to say that we use localized objects. So all these objects, we try to use ones that are more localized towards the children. So things that children will see outside on the streets as well, in the outside environment. So for example, here in these pictures, you can see very typical vehicles or cars that you would see on the street only in Hong Kong. Okay, try to use as real as possible objects. Okay, try not to find a cartoon taxi or a cartoon ice cream truck. So here we made these materials using the actual model. Okay, so there we have the taxi, we have the ice cream truck, right? Again, very relatable. Okay, then we have the school bus. Okay, and the point of this activity is so they match. First of all, they'll be able to match the actual model to the cars, and they're actually asked to pronounce the words, just so they're building that vocabulary with familiarity as well. Okay, and of course, you know, a demonstration would include a very typical Montessori material, which we call sandpaper letters. Okay, sandpaper letters is exactly what it sounds like. They're letters on a board with sand on them. Okay, so let me show you some examples here. Okay, so this activity is actually a preparation for writing. Okay, you would notice that we choose to use cursive. Okay, cursive compared to non-cursive would be because it's easier for the infants to be scribbling. Okay, so their hands will never have to leave the paper. They can just keep going and going and that's the concept behind it. Okay, the purpose of this is so they can actually feel the letter. Okay, they can feel the letter and sound it, of course. Okay, it mimics the scribbling. They can feel and see what A looks like, what N looks like, what a D looks like. Okay, normally you would present these 3 at a time. Okay, and make sure that they're in contrast as well, so they don't sound too familiar, like M, N kind of thing. So here we chose A, N, and D to show you. Okay, you'll also notice that some are pink, some are blue, and that's because the pink ones are consonants and the blue ones are vowels. Okay, so in order for you to move on to this activity, the child must be familiar with all the sounds of the alphabet first. Okay, and that's what we do in a normal basis in our classes as well. Okay. Last but not least, we have a more advanced activity. It's another matching activity. Okay, so I'll just show you a few examples here that we've prepared. So over here, you would see there's a picture and there's also the name, right? Buddha of Lantau. Here we have the Colosseum in Italy. And for demonstration purpose, we also have the Taj Mahal in India. Okay, so these are examples of matching as well. So in addition, we also have at Monteca small models like this for them to match as well. Okay, again, this is to build on their vocabulary and also be learning names of different landmarks around the world. Okay, which touches on the culture language area as well. Okay, other materials include movable alphabets. Okay, which is a great activity for them to start stringing out words, start for spelling. Okay, we also have a sand tray, which is again another activity to practice their fine motor skills towards holding onto an object and scribbling along. Okay. And then we have other stuff such as readers. Okay, the readers, we have sequences. We have the pre-reading series, and then we have the pink, and then the blue, and then the green, and eventually we move on to the grammar. Okay, so all this stuff happens between 0 to 6. Okay, today we're focused a lot more on 0 to 3 because that's the main course that Monteca offers. Okay, but again, we are going to push out our CASA program soon too. Okay, that's pretty much all for today. We do have a special video for you for next week that introduces our extracurricular program, Kids Kitchen. Okay, Kids Kitchen is a program that we've developed with in collaboration with Swiss luxury brand Vizug. We have invited their Le Cordon Bleu certified chef Kyle to come teach the class as well. Okay, so the course mainly focuses on how children can also cook, self-care, build a sense of order, mathematics skills, and it really touches on many learning areas as well. So stay tuned for that video next week. Okay. Last but not least, we want to start a new tradition at Monteca. We would like to ask you, if you wouldn't mind sharing, to send us what kind of activities are you doing with your children at home during these times. For the incentive we're going to give is the first 5 people that sends their activities and don't mind sharing, on the next live session, we're going to give away a set of color books which focuses on the primary colors, which is red, blue, and yellow. Okay, and we're going to customize these for you, custom tailor make it for you, ask you about different materials or different objects that are familiar to your child specifically, so they're very unique. Okay, we're also going to be giving out, you can see here, our Monteca bibs. Okay, for the first 5 people that send in their activities. Okay, let me just show you an example. Just looks like that. Okay. And hopefully we can share our experiences and bring some joy and happiness to every day of our lives as well. Okay. So remember, follow our Facebook and Instagram pages for updated news and promotion. We have daily activities for at-home learning as well. Okay. Again, my name is Raymond, the Director of Education here at Monteca International Play School, and I hope you have a great weekend.